This episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS. Join them this September in their bid to become an Abbott World Marathon Major. Be a part of history at sydneymarathon.com.
Your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Under cover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode 294 of the Inside Running Podcast. It's going to be another huge episode. We've got Diamond League results, including Australian records, New South Wales and Victorian cross-country results to recap, and Eloise Wellings and Rory Darkins will be dropping in to chat about their marathon State of Mind course, which will be made available to all those who have registered for this year's Sydney Marathon. But firstly, welcome to my co-host and captain of the Geelong Region Cats Cross Country Club, Julian Spence. How are you, Moose?
Mate, incorrect. I'm not the captain.
Men's captain?
Nah, not even close.
Is that Gunther?
Matt Gunther's got to be the captain. He's the one who does all the work. He's the heart of the team, rocked up after getting out of his deathbed on Friday to jog around the course for points and drive the bus. So there's no way I'm the captain.
You're the first cat though, weren't you?
I'm the superstar of the team, but I'm not the captain.
And how's life down in Anglesea? I tell you what, last week listening, the first 5 minutes, I was about to turn you blokes off. All we did was whinge for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's been very cold today down here on the beach. I went out for my run before, felt like 1.2, and that's cold for the beach. Normally we're pretty mild here. Ran with Kieran, he was wearing a puffer vest for his whole run.
I won't tell you what the apparent temperature is here or what the temperature is going to be tomorrow morning.
Or how far below zero?
Well, we got -4 and -5 coming up the next 2 mornings.
Feels like or actual?
That's actual, so it's going to feel colder than that. It currently feels like -1 now. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that, enough weather talk. Let's get to introducing our guest host this week. He's a 210 marathoner, Com Games and World Cross Country representative and captain of the Bendigo Bats, and on Saturday won the Victorian 12K cross country champs at Cruden Farm. Welcome back to the show, Andy Buchanan.
Hey guys, how are we going?
Good, mate.
Andy.
Congratulations on your win.
Thank you. It's always good to be getting back to those XCR races, and didn't feature on the podium last time, so nice to sneak in this time.
Yeah, well, one of my questions, so last time we had you on was pretty much straight off the back of Hamburg. Like you're still overseas. So what's the last sort of few months look like? I believe it was a bit slow to get going after the marathon.
Yeah, it was. It's probably something that I'm getting better at in just, I suppose, respecting the marathon. I think these days with these super shoes, we probably, especially someone like me that hasn't done a marathon in the old school shoes, you kind of think you're ready to go, but you actually probably need to double the time you think you need. And I made that mistake last year, and I put myself into a pretty big hole that took a while to get out of. So the last the last month haven't really done too much. I've done a few races, but this week will be my first week where I get back to what I would call normal training. And I feel like on the weekend I've taken a big step in the right direction in getting my fitness back to where it was, because you do the marathon and then you actually kind of want to lose a little bit of fitness because you want to have those 2 weeks or 3 weeks off. And then it takes a little bit to kind of feel normal running again, then kind of get back to normal fitness. So, yeah, I haven't been doing too much, but yeah, doing a bit of racing now and starting to feel pretty good again.
Was it hard coming back to some of those XCR races, like knowing you're not at your best?
It was, but then you've got to just, I don't know, I go along and do it for the team. So you've kind of got a different view. And I honestly was happy as happy as I could be finishing 4th in Bendigo, because it was just super good to see such a good field. And I know, Moose, you'd agree with that. Like, that's the deepest. It'll be the deepest cross-country race in Australia this year, apart from World Cross.
Yeah, some really good athletes not featuring in the top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the top 5, like the 5 to 10. It's insane. We should be getting interstate athletes come down and run these, because that's where the best competition in the country is.
Yeah, so I found it, I don't know, there's obviously a little bit of pride there, especially being in Bendigo, finishing 4th, but I was, last year I would have been pissed off, but now I'm kind of like, oh nah, like I'm a marathoner now. So I do these set races and marathons, and then it's kind of like, this is a bit of fun on the side kind of thing. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
And thoughts on Launceston half? Like, you must be reasonably happy, like, given the training you've been doing, to, finish second in 63 low?
Yeah, I really was unsure how I was going to go. And I thought, looking on paper, like, some of those guys have some quick PBs, but they're not near that form at the moment. And I thought I'd be in a shot to win it, but I was just really unsure how I would feel. And I probably undervalued the half, because I'm so used to doing marathons. Like, oh, it's just 21K. So I probably didn't give it enough respect, but I was happy with my result. I really enjoyed it. We had a good group of guides racing, and you don't get that very often. And there was, I think, 4 or 5 of us at different times, and we're all feeling good at different points. So we're trying to drop each other. It was good fun. And I wasn't too phased about the time. I really wanted to go down and win it. So I was a little bit disappointed to get rolled. But again, big picture, I haven't really been doing much training. So I can't complain too much.
Yeah. During the race, well, firstly on the start line, who did you think was going to win? And then at 10K, who do you think was going to win? And then maybe at like 16K, who do you think was going to win?
Yeah, so I thought Ed Goddard was going to win on the start line. I honestly thought I could be up there, and so I thought it was going to be between me and him. And then at 10K, I thought Tim Vincent. He looked super good, was making all the moves, was just like pranced. Like, he's got this style where he just runs on his toes, and he looks really good and
smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, and I thought, oh shit, he's in good form. He's going to win this. And then probably 15, 16K, I actually thought Tim still. And then obviously Ed got the win. So, but Ed's strange. Like, he sounded like he was but in more ways than what I knew. He sounded like he was working hard from like 5K, like just breathing, and just he didn't seem comfortable. It was quite strange. And then he just he made the move and kicked away and dropped all of us essentially. So yeah, kudos to him. And obviously he's got a big marathon coming up in 2 weeks' time, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But it was good fun, and even Riley Cox was going to the front, mixing it up. And then with Joel, like, he's obviously ran one good race, and who knows when he'll pull that out again. So you never know what he's going to do.
Going into those races now, I know you mentioned before, like, it's good to see everyone running well, but now you're coming in, you've got Australian singlet in the bag, you've run 2:10, what are you, national cross country champion? You won that?
Yeah, not for a few years, but I have, yep.
A couple of times, yeah. So do you feel more nervous now, considering that you are the one to beat? Like, and you are the one to beat. Like, if we were going there on the weekend, everyone says who's going to win. Andy should win. It's harder to go to those races when you should win.
Yeah, I don't know, I do feel that, but then I try to change it into why are people thinking that, and it's like I try to pump my own tires up in a way, and say, oh, people think I'm the best runner here, therefore and I like to put a little bit of that pressure on myself, but try not to make it seem like it's pressure from other people. And I think that builds me up and gets me into that right state of mind where it's like, yeah, I want to prove to these people that I am the best runner here. So but it has been different. And I'm not going to lie, I was going down to Launceston to get a bit of money, and I knew that no one from MTC was really, like, I knew Brett was doing the 10K, and I thought, oh, this would be a good chance for me to win a race. But obviously it's really hard at the moment to win a race because we've got a lot of people running well. But my mindset has probably changed a little bit, but I think it's helping me in a positive way rather than me looking at other people going, oh, they're better than me, and kind of not giving myself the chance, counting myself out before I even take a step in the race.
Mm. Hey, Andy, Australia announced their team for the World Championships later in this year for the marathon, and our only male representative was Pat Tiernan, who I believe got picked based on like ranking points and things like that. Did you not nominate for World Champs?
Yeah, so I did nominate because with these things, you have to nominate so early. So I think I nominated it back in, it might have been March or February. And essentially what kind of happens is people just nominate for most teams. And then it's kind of once you get to the date, you remove that nomination. I nominated so long ago that I'd forgotten about it and did get selected from AA, and then kind of had to remove my nomination. So therefore I'm really keen to focus on a fast marathon at the end of this year, and I think that's going to be the best step forward to try to get into Paris. So I was happy to forego a World Champs marathon because it's going to be over in European summer. I don't think it's going to be a fast course. I just don't think it's the right setup for me, and I really struggle to back up with marathons. I can't do what kind of Brett does and what a lot of other people do, like Eloise. So I really want to put all my eggs into doing a marathon at the end of the year, and hopefully that's enough for me for Paris.
Thoughts on this, Moose? Because I remember at a live show that we did at Nike headquarters, and we asked Jack the same question. I think Jack forewent a world championship to focus on the Olympics. And I think the question, you asked him was, it's like, well, it's still like an Aussie singlet, and like what, potentially down the track you get injured and you don't, make that marathon at the end of the year, and there goes the Olympics. So like, what are your thoughts, Moose?
Yeah, I guess, Andy, like you're putting yourself on a pedestal to a degree, and you're going, look, I'm an Olympian, I just haven't made the team yet. And that's just how it is with you, and you have to make decisions around that. Other people will be sitting there going, this is the World Championships, like this is the second best marathon I can get into. Of course, we'll argue about the Com Games versus World Champs marathons, but I think you're taking a punt on yourself by doing this. And down the track, like 10 years from now, you could look back and go, oh, fuck, second singlet would have been nice. I could have run that marathon. Could have been top 20 a bad day. Could have run through the field. Or you could run 2:9, 2:8, get yourself like an Olympic singlet and have the best experience of your life ever. So it is taking a punt on yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's something I spoke with Scotty, my coach, a few times, and he's kind of done both, and he's never actually. Well, he has done Com Games, obviously got into the Olympics on his last chance essentially, and I don't know. I was comfortable with the position of possibly missing both to try to make the Olympics, and it's funny because this time last year I remember Brett saying no to Com Games, and I was thinking, what is he doing? Why does he not want to run the Com Games? Like, why would you not want to run for Australia in a marathon? Like, that just seemed completely bizarre to me, and now I'm kind of in that position. So I suppose I do understand both sides, but for me the Olympics is the holy grail, and I'll happily miss the World Champs to give that my best shot. So it is a risk, and I fully understand that, but I think with my past and my lack of injuries and ability to do quite well in marathons, I think it's the right choice for me.
Let's be honest, Andy, after 2019, there's not a lot of value in a World Championship marathon singlet. Is that what you're thinking?
I didn't want to say that, but I feel like the World Champs, we haven't had anyone, have we? Since?
Not since 2019. No, not male.
Not male. So. No one's made it. No one's stepped up. Takes a real man to go, yeah, I'll run in that kind of heat. I'll put myself on the line in 30-degree Doha heat.
It was a good run, Moose. It was a good run in those conditions.
Yeah. So going back, Andy, like I think it does offer you good experience though for championship running, and I think there's value in that because you've done a World Half Champs one.
No, that got cancelled. Well, it didn't get cancelled. It got postponed, and then it ran, but Australia didn't send a team.
That's right. Yeah. So you've run a World Cross Champs, which you ran pretty well at, and then Com Games, which you ran well at. But like it is a learned experience, championship racing, and it seems like there's aspects to it that you can gain experience from. So you didn't consider that, like that you sort of like it doesn't. You don't have to like go there and try to run 2:10.
Yeah, I understand that, and I feel like I learnt a lot from Com Games, and that was a massive experience, and I was so lucky to have such a good team behind me and with me in St. Moritz and in Teddington and then in Birmingham where it was, and I feel like I have learned a lot about that, and then I think the Olympics will be on a next level. So I think it's and World Champs probably wouldn't prepare you for that Olympic hype too much, and it probably would be quite similar to Com Games, because I was super surprised at how, like, I was getting messages from people like primary school teachers of mine that were messaging me about the Com Games marathon, and I was like, how do you wouldn't even know how far a marathon is. So it was quite surprising, and I feel like I've learnt a lot from that, but it's just, for me, the big risk was doing a marathon in August, and then I don't think I've got enough points to be confident in my selection for Paris. So I'd have to do another marathon, and then that would doing another marathon early next year and then having to go again for the Olympics. I just don't think that would be the best way to get the best out of myself. So it's one kind of view is I want to get to the Olympics, but then I also want to perform my best at the Olympics and not be doing my third marathon in 6 months. And I just can't do that with the like, I don't get as much recovery time as others, and it's it takes a fair bit out of me, and I put a fair bit into it. So so that's kind of why I decided to do it, and I honestly haven't had any regrets. And when I saw the team was named, I was like, I wasn't really getting FOMO. I'm sure when it rolls around, you'd be like, oh geez, it'd be nice to be over in where is it? I can't even
Budapest.
Remember. Budapest, yeah, that's right. So I'm sure I'll get a bit of FOMO then, but yeah.
And the advantage of skipping World Championships is it sort of gives you 2 bites of the cherry to qualify for Paris, because obviously if you did World Champs, you wouldn't be able to do another marathon this year, whereas you could do one late this year, and then if needed, you could probably go again like April next year, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that is
if you need to.
Yeah, if I need to. And then also I think the half marathon also qualifies as well. I don't think I could run fast enough to get enough points to then take out my 2:12, but there is those options as well. So it's not just the marathon, but yeah.
Should we hear about his training week and his victory on the weekend, Moose?
Yeah, go for it, Andy.
Lovely. All right, let's see how we go here. So Monday, it was a public holiday actually, King's birthday, which is great. Great to have that. Always love a shorter week. So I just did 11K on the Monday morning. I was actually quite surprised at how tired I was. I've forgotten how much those races, when you kind of fly out Saturday, fly back Sunday, kind of driving back to Bendigo, and you don't get much done. And the body was a bit banged up and just tired. So that was just an easy 50 minutes, pretty chilled. Jogged in the morning with the kids Tuesday morning. That was only 4.7K. And then Tuesday afternoon, did a session, was pretty keen to take this pretty chilled, just having raced a half 2 days prior. And in Bendigo, we've got a lake that's it's about 1,400 metres around. So we do this thing called lake laps, which is 1,200 metres on, and then you do about a 250 metre float back to the start, and then you go on again. So it's kind of, you go around threshold effort. Got to the lake, had a nice big group, but they've built this flash new playground, and they're still doing some work on it. So they actually had some temp fencing on the footpath around the lake, so we couldn't do a full lap. So we just ended up doing 6 by 1,200. that was nice and chilled. Had a nice big group actually, and just ran with the boys. So that was very much just a feel. Paces weren't anything too impressive, just kind of running around 3:05s for those 1200s. And we just changed it to 90 seconds stand in recovery rather than that float.
So we actually chatted last week about doing workouts off the back of half marathons or hard races. Like you race Sunday. Sunday, what do you race? 8:30 or something? No, 7:30.
8:05.
8:05, yeah. And so it's what, 48 plus 10, 58 hours afterwards? Does that sound about right? Is that something that, like, you're a coach, is that something you would schedule for an athlete?
It really depends, I think, on the level. And like I was running, like my first rep was 3:09 pace, and then we got a little bit quicker. But I was kind of chatting throughout these reps, and it felt pretty good. So some of my athletes that would have raced on the weekend doing a half for that Tuesday, I'd often give them just an easy run. But I feel like with my training load and training consistency, I could get away with it. And I knew that I would be honest with myself. And if those boys decide to push, I'd just pull back a little bit. So it is risky. It's probably not something I would give for my athletes, but I feel like someone at my level, I can get away with it. And Scott had pretty strict instructions of just have it as a cruisy workout. And I think it actually made me feel a little bit better just to kind of get a little bit of that faster running in. Not really, like I'd say most of it was slower than threshold.
So you didn't have sore legs or anything after that?
No, I don't pull up like a half. I don't know, just with these shoes, like even after the cross country, I don't get sore legs. Like I've forgotten what it feels like to do, like, you know, when you used to do like 10K on the track and your calves would be sore for like 2 or 3 days afterwards. Like I don't get that anymore. So I don't know if that's the shoes or if that's just me, but
it ain't just the shoes, because I was fucking sore on the weekend.
Yeah, you're a bit older than me.
I am, yeah. So you've got something to look forward to there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should be comparing yourself to Andy these days, Moose.
Well, I mean, we're still doing the same running. We still run 12K cross country.
But I run a bit more than you.
Yeah, but you run faster. You should be getting sorer.
But I'm out there for less time. Anyway, Wednesday, Wildflower Wednesday. So that was good. It's actually it's nearly, we're doing the full loop with head torches at the moment because we start at 6:30. So that's I don't mind head torch season. It's good, but I'd hate it if it lasted for 2 or 3 months longer. I feel like when you get to the middle of winter, you're like, all right, I'm ready for this to end. Then it starts getting lighter, which is good. So that was just 90 minutes just with the group, so just short of 20K.
All right, so question for you boys. This has been doing the circles on a couple of message groups. How much percentage drop in enjoyment of running do you get when you're running in the dark versus in the light?
I'll go 30% less enjoyment in the dark.
There's actually times where I'll enjoy the dark more. But
so you'll go plus? You do a plus percent?
No, but that's only like if I do it as a rarity. Like if I'm doing it all the time, it's at least 40%.
Less enjoyable.
The worst for me is warming up at like 5:30 at night when it's basically just turning dark. It's after work. You feel like you should be at home because it's dark and it feels like it's 9 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. That's the worst. I don't mind it so much in the mornings. It's more the afternoon, evening sessions that I have to do in the dark.
Yeah, I never do sessions really in the dark, not too much at all. And dark sessions, very grim, but just easy running, I don't mind it.
Dark sessions are a true blue collar athlete, all right there.
Yeah.
Not if you've got lights on, Croaks, at the track. That's different, mate. Yeah. Lights at the track, totally different. Don't give me that.
What about the odd street light up near Parliament House doing hill reps?
Yeah, I'll pay that.
We've got these new lights at the track, and I remember they turn them on for us on a Tuesday because they often have a race after us. And I remember one night there wasn't a race, and we were running around, we were doing K reps or something. middle of winter, freezing cold. They're really good lights. And a guy joined the group late. So he was about 2 reps behind us. So we all finished. We're like, oh, yeah, this is good. And the guy who turns the lights on goes, oh, yep, sweet, I'm heading home. Flicks the lights off. And this poor bloke was still doing laps. And he still had like 2 reps to go. And it went from just like the MCG to just pitch black. And I was like, fuck, if he completed that session, that's surely extra fitness there, because that would have sucked.
Yeah, you'd get like 2 to 3 seconds a lap slower though.
Oh,
in the dark, it's impossible.
It'd be tough, but did a double that afternoon. Had a bit of, I go see an osteo down in Melbourne. So did that on Wednesday, and then just got out for an easy 31 minutes in the afternoon on Wednesday. Running with the squad again Thursday morning. That was just 5.8k. Thursday was a bit of a funny session. I was keen to tick the legs over, but not do too much. So the coach suggested just a 6k threshold with some strides. These are just the hardest sessions because it's a bit of a nothing session, not much motivation by myself. Getting dark, like I started that at I think it was about 5:30. But that was good. Felt pretty good. Wore the Saucony Endorphin Elites, which I actually quite enjoyed. Moose, what are your thoughts on those shoes?
Oh yeah, they're good. They're in that upper echelon of super shoes in terms of like a little more aggressive. They feel very rocket and poppy. I like the fit. The fit's really nice for me. I got a numb foot after one really long tempo, but that's maybe I get that a bit in those really stiff shoes. So
yeah, I like them. Terrible in the wet because you just slip. Like, why would they not put anything on that bit of rubber? But yeah, so I just did 6k 312s, which was good. Then some strides. Actually felt pretty good during that, which was good. And then Friday, pretty chilled 12k. Good fun. Good little loop, which I enjoyed. And then, Saturday had the race, which was, it's a long way down to Cruden. I think it's probably about 2.5 hours from Bendigo. So that was plenty of time in the car, which was, enjoyable in a way. And, I don't know, do you want to go into the race now or we'll do that later?
Yeah. Tell us how it played out for you.
Yeah, so obviously with XCR, you just never know who's going to be on the start line. It's a bit of a lottery, but you always know there's going to be some good competition. So, 12K, you've kind of got to be pretty sensible in that first bit. New course this year, so we did 2K and then 5K, whereas it used to be 4K laps. So didn't really know where we were going to start with. And then, kind of figured it out after we got through all the laps. I felt okay. I probably didn't feel as good as what I normally feel during XCR races, because I think that fitness is still just lagging a little bit, but felt a million times better than what I did at Bendigo. Very, very windy, which kind of changed how the race played out, I suppose. I went to the front just purely because I like running from the front with cross country. I think when you're running through those paddocks, it's best to be able to see where you can put your feet. And I think you'll waste a lot of energy just constantly people slowing down for a pothole or something. Whereas if you're out the front, you can completely control that. So I went to the front and then realized how windy it was and realized everyone was sitting on me. So I was pretty keen to make them either work pretty hard to sit on me or drop them. And I think Andres was the last one on me for probably the first 3K, and then managed to get rid of him, and then just kind of ran by myself for the next.
What distance was that?
It would have been a K into that on our second lap, so about 3K, 3 or 4K.
Oh, that's early.
Nice feeling to be able to just cruise to the finish.
Yeah, it is and that's how I like running my races. I like getting that gap, and psychologically they're kind of already giving up in a way, and they have to run bloody hard to try to catch us. So it's you just kind of go into kind of threshold mode after that, and it's especially when I think a few times I was talking to Cashin, he came second, and I was out of sight for him, and it's just like once you're out of sight, you kind of that's it. So just rolled around and lapped a heap of people, so that kind of made it interesting because you just never know what side they're going to go on, and there's quite a technical part through a hedge, and I was always just a bit worried they're going to, like, you know, as they hear you coming, they go the wrong side, and then you kind of run into them. But no, it was good fun. So that was, I don't even know what, I think I ran 36:20-ish for the 12K. Felt pretty good. I feel like
didn't bury yourself then?
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. Wished I didn't really want to. Often with these XCR races, I really try to, I don't know, just bury everyone else and win by as much as I could. But I kind of thought with the half in the legs last weekend, there's no point in doing that. I just wanted to win it. And then did a bit of a cool down, and then did 2 hours Sunday morning, which was 26K. So it was a pretty good week, actually. I couldn't tell you how much it was. Probably about 140K, I think. So, yeah, pretty good week.
Very good. And Gold Coast half, that's next?
Nah, so I'm actually doing a croaker and pacing.
Yeah, actually, Brady said you had some interesting news for Gold Coast. So, all right, fill us in. I love pacing chat.
But the only thing that's different between you and me, I stole this joke from Brady, is this isn't my one big race for the year. It only got planned actually last week. Ryan contacted. Well, Ryan actually, my coach, does the pacing up there every year, Scotty, and he actually said, "Oh, do you want to pace?" So, yeah, I'm taking the lead group through hopefully to 30K.
Wow. What pace have they asked for?
302s, which is 64, and then they're hoping to pick it up from either halfway or 30K to go under the course record.
Shit, who's going to be in the front group?
There's some actually really good guys. I'm pretty sure there's 2 or 3 guys that have ran 207, and then there's a fair few 208 guys. But it's probably the strongest Gold Coast field I remember seeing. So I think hopefully they all get to 30 and they all kind of race it out.
So question, if you won the half, would you be financially better off, or would you be better off pacing, even if you compared to winning the half?
Yeah, I don't actually know how much the half is for winning, so I'm not sure. But
Croaks will know. He knows all this shit.
I don't know how much the half is because I've never won the half and never will, so I wouldn't know what you get for winning the half.
But obviously I'm going up there and I am getting paid, and I spend a lot of money traveling to Europe a few times a year, so I'm keen to get a bit back on that. But I also am really keen to experience what it's like to run at that pace, and to see, oh shit, this is way too fast, or if I don't know, I'm hoping that it's not too fast. And it's also a good experience to be running at the front of a marathon, I think, because it's a pretty big marathon, and a lot of people get out and support. So I'm actually really excited for it.
Yeah. Are you staying at the race hotel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's the elite fields here. So there's 4 guys with PBs of 27:30 or faster.
27:30.
Oh, sorry, 2:07.
2:07. Yeah, exactly. So I think there should be a big pack there. Which will, I think it'll be exciting. I think it'll be good to see, and hopefully one of them can go under that course record.
Have you got anyone to pace with?
Yeah, so that was one of the things, is when Ryan reached out to me last week, early last week, there wasn't actually anyone. And I said, look, I think I can go to 30, but I need someone to kind of do that first 10, 15K. So I'm pretty sure we've locked in someone. I haven't heard that from Ryan yet, but I did a bit of work down at Launceston, and I think we've got someone that will help me out, hopefully through to 15K. So hopefully I can just kind of chill. I can just let them kind of be the person that's checking the splits, and then they'll peel off at 15, and then hopefully I can go all the way through to 30.
$3,000 for the win of the half marathon.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't be getting I wouldn't be making more money than the half winner.
Okay, all right.
All right, Moose, take us through your week.
All right. Yeah, well, I was just close behind Andy on the weekend, actually. So
He was one of the guys talking about lapping people.
Yeah.
I was going to ask him at what point did he feel the relief of not worrying about me coming past. Monday I would have run. Let me just get through some of that Noosa stuff. I ran with Toby. I ran into Toby on my morning run, and he was flying past my house. What was I doing? Walking the dog or something. And I said, hold on a second, I'll go get my shoes on. And so I ran with him. So he was feeling better. It didn't work out the rest of the week for him, though. So I ran with him. I also ran with a couple of other guys, Hugh and Sam Hume. They were in town. It was a public holiday, so all the blow-ins come down over the long weekend. Jogged that Arvo as well, just 6K. Ran on some trails. When you feel shit, it's nice to get on the trails, just forget the pace a bit. Again, just an hour on Tuesday. Because the race was Wednesday, I had to go into Geelong to do a workout before work, so just some stuff with cars, dropping kids at daycare, that kind of thing. Not great here. So did a threshold on the Geelong waterfront. So parked at the gym, ran down to the Geelong waterfront. I really couldn't be fucked for this. Like, this was, let's just get it done and go to work. I had on my watch face, I even forgot when I didn't even have lap time showing. So I had to kind of guess when the threshold was going to end. So all I had was heart rate, and I wasn't really looking at that either. I was just sort of going to feel. And on this workout, my RPE, like, this was really high. So this felt difficult for what was a lot lower heart rate than the week before. So my average heart rate for the workout section was 162. The time, it was 22 minutes 12 seconds. I went up a steep hill at one point, which raised my heart rate, and averaged 325 per K. So that was actually faster than I thought I was going. And then afterwards I did 10 by, I forgot how many, lost count of this. I was doing 8-second, 10-second hill sprints. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, I got 10 of them. That's good. On a hill, a ramp just at the Geelong waterfront. I really like doing these, and this week I've decided, like, I made a decision as soon as I got back from Noosa that I'm going to do strength work at least every second day, and I'm going to do either surges, drills and strides, or hill sprints after each run, because I have zero change of pace. I feel super sluggish. Everything feels really stale, slow, stiff at the moment. When I've done workouts, like cross country is okay. You can get round a cross country. I ran 320s, I finished a lot higher up in that race than a lot of people that should have been beating me. But that's because I'm running 320s, and you don't really need to go fast at any point. Well, for me, like, my legs couldn't go faster than that. But I'm really missing the gears, and so I'm going to work on that. So, like, today I did surges. This particular day I did hill sprints. And after the first one, it just feels really good. Like, it feels nice to work those fast twitch fibers, which very rarely do. That next morning ran 40 minutes, and I did a double. So I ran in Geelong, left kind of, work's been pretty quiet, so I got out a bit early, 4 o'clock, and ran down in some new shoes, just tested a few out on the waterfront again in Geelong. Put the Vaporfly 3 on, Vaporfly Next% 3, did some strides in it. I actually was really surprised by this shoe, because I am not a fan of the 2s. In fact, I bought the 2s and then only wore them twice. I just shelved them because I have 5 other shoes that are better than the 2. But the 3 doing strides in this, I got a totally different experience than what the 2s give me. Now, Andy, I know you have a pair of the 3s. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I actually wore them in Launceston, and I like them, but because they definitely feel more stable. So they're quite good depending on where you're running. But I'm pretty sure my left foot's like slightly bigger than my right, like only slightly. And I know a lot of people have that, and I've never noticed that in the next percents, like the 2s. But then when I put these on in the half, I reckon I got to 16, 17K, and it was like my left foot was like starting to go kind of numb, and it was quite uncomfortable. So I'm not sold on them being massively better. I think they're a slight improvement, but I think the sizing for me is just, obviously they've changed it a little bit, and I think for a 21K, if I had to do it again, I'd probably go the 2s. But I reckon at 10K, I'd wear these. They just feel a little bit more of a rocker and a little bit more stable. So if you're going around corners, feel a lot better.
Yeah, they're definitely more stable. That was the first thing I felt doing a stride, because normally that narrow heel platform, I tend to fall off that pretty easy. Like I'm a pretty severe pronator, so my foot just collapses immediately, and that shoe was terrible for it. Whereas this one, as I hit the deck and transitioned mid-stance into toe-off, I felt like a lot more controlled, and then I felt a lot more guts under the ball of the foot. So that's one thing that I thought the 2s missed. I thought they were really flat. I didn't feel any love, like any excitement under the ball of the foot. Whereas this one, there's a little more rocker and there's a little bit more guts there.
That's the thing I loved about the first one, Moose, was I feel like the forefoot was a bit spongier, and you almost got a bit more back out of it than the 2s. Whereas you said it feels more like just an old traditional racing flat where you can feel the ground underneath you.
Yeah, I feel like that too, and I'm quite strong in how I feel about it. Yet I see everyone continue to wear them and love them. So I just wonder if it was me getting used to like the feel of the Alpha Fly, and say the Saucony Elite, Andy, is a lot of cushion under that shoe. The Rebellion Pro from Mizuno, heaps of guts under that shoe. So I thought I was maybe just getting a little used to more shoe, and it was in my head.
No, the one was definitely softer, and I felt like I could run faster in the one than the 2. I use the 2 a lot for training. Like, it's a great training shoe. And I'd probably still use it over 5 and 10, but anything longer than that, I'd go like the Alpha Fly.
Yeah. What shoe did you wear? Did you wear the Alpha for your marathon, your 210, Andy?
Yes. Yeah. So Alpha Fly 1.
Yeah. Okay.
So the OG, I still think that's the Duck's Guts, and I'm getting a bit nervous because I've only got 2 pairs, and it's like, oh, what do I wear for this 30K pacing? I don't want to burn too many of them. So hopefully the 3 comes out. I've seen it and had a bit of a play with it, and it feels really cool, but you just never know till you put it on. I find the 2's good, but compared to the 1, I just feel the one that I feel like the heel in the second is a little bit too high, and there's not as much drop. So therefore, when you take off, I feel like with me in the Alpha Fly 1s, you take off and that air pocket just like literally pushes you forward.
Yeah. So the second one has a higher heel.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a date for the Alpha Fly 3. I'll tell you later.
Okay. I'll look forward to that.
Yeah, I did some surges the next day. I actually ran with Ali and Hannah's. They were doing a warm-up. They were doing a workout, and so I just jogged with the pooch and chucked the Vaporflies on for some surges to finish. So that was the day before the race. So, yeah, my race, like, I had a goal. I set myself a goal of top 30. I thought that was reasonable, and I came to that number based off, I thought less people would show up than Bendigo. So I'm like, say 10 people less show up, then that gets me 10 places. Maybe the course being a little longer, I can sneak a couple of places from some younger kids that can't handle it. And perhaps I'm a smidge fitter for a couple of places. So I was like a little more confident than Bendigo. So I went out. I had these shoes. I got some new shoes during the week as well. they're called the Nike Dragonfly Cross Country. So they're like a dragonfly, but they're a slightly wider base, and they have a little bit of grip through the heel and the like forefoot. There's like a rubber topping to where the normal sort of plastic sits for the track dragonfly, and they have the spike that's like more like a golf kind of stud. It's like a triangle type or a pyramid that's quite thick, and then with a little pin at the top. So I thought, yeah, these will work here, and they did not work. So the course was a lot firmer than I thought it was going to be. Quite a bit of time on gravel, and some of the wooded sections were just firm dirt rather than soft dirt. So at about 150, 200 meters in, I went around a corner and it was a bit firm. And these things, like, they are so thick under the ball of your foot. It's like running in footy boots, like the real studded footy boots. And I was rolling my ankle all over the place. I immediately knew I'd made the wrong call. I should have just used like normal spikes. But then we got into some of the muddier stuff and they gripped quite well for that. But yeah, I felt like my race, I went out pretty slow. And I remember thinking around 2K, I'm like, is everyone taking this really easy today? Like, am I around a bunch of blokes who are just tempoing it? But I got slower and slower and slower. And my race just got harder and harder. And every hill I went up, I felt like I had no power to push up the hill. And it was really sluggish. It turned into some really slow running up those hills. I passed a couple of people in the first couple of K, and that's it. I only passed one other person in the next 10K. That was Tom Thorpe, and he ended up repassing me. And I got passed by probably 5 people after that. So it was relatively lonely. I was behind a Glenn Huntley bloke like the whole way, and he ended up burning me off at the end. So my splits got slower and slower. It wasn't very impressive. I had my eye on the next Geelong bloke, Ash Hoffman. He was kind of someone that I was looking to hold off, because it's always a race within a race when you're coming 27th. You need to find some sort of thing to stay competitive. So that was the Geelong race. And yeah, I mean, I'm relatively happy with the position that I came, but I really wasn't happy with how I ran that. Like, it was just a slow death from before halfway, which feels a little pathetic. And it's a really difficult way to run a race. I actually wore my heart rate, so you can see like my heart rate graph sort of get higher and then higher. Like, I'm running at the end like 186, 187 beats a minute. And I do thresholds at 172, 173. So I was fucking working.
You reckon you would have finished any higher if you'd gone a little bit conservative and didn't like die as much? Or you reckon you're just going to die regardless because you're just not as fit as you need to be?
Probably a little bit of that. Probably a little bit of both. I actually felt like I was really conservative at the start. Like there was a point where there was a pack that broke off in front of me, and I made a decision to hold back and thought, play it safe, come through later. And so that was me probably misjudging how fit I was, thinking that I potentially could have gone with that pack, which I clearly couldn't have. And then just the lack of mileage. I just keep forgetting, not forgetting, but I just haven't had enough races that's taught me that 100K a week does not produce the same level of strength as 160K a week. Yeah. I'm still getting my head around that, and it's sort of like, it's just a reality kicking in.
You basically experienced on the weekend how a lot of like younger runners feel, where they go out because they got so much just like natural speed because they're young. It's like, this doesn't feel very hard at all, but then they don't have the strength behind them, mainly because they're not running enough miles or don't have the years behind them. And then they get like halfway through the race and they're like, this doesn't feel easy anymore.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a grind after that.
Yep. And speaking to the other guys, like they all blew up too. And because they maybe my blow up wasn't that, like, I can control the blow ups to a degree, whereas some people blow up massively and then they get passed by like 20 people, whereas I got passed by 5 people.
I think you're being hard on yourself. Like, your slowest K is 3:29, which actually isn't, like, if you look on everyone's Strava, I reckon you've done what nearly everyone would have done.
That's true, Moose, because I was like looking at your splits and I was about to like make some comment on our group chat about Moose went out as if it was 2019 Moose, but then I looked at a couple of other people around you and everybody sort of ran slower in that sort of second half of the race. So I didn't write that comment.
Yeah, I did get passed by a bunch of dudes. Actually, Andy, now I'm not sure, I can't be positive, but there was a hill coming up to the finish line, like, you know, that grass hill.
Yeah.
You hook around. Was that where the Bendigo juniors were cheering at?
On the 2K loop or the 5K loop?
So the 5K loop, you know how you come up past the start line, like you go on that same hill, and were they at the top of the hill there?
No, I saw them at where the 2K loop turns right, and then you go straight, and then you go down the hill, do a U-turn, and then come back up.
Right, okay.
That's where I saw them.
Because there is a chance that I was getting booed by a bunch of kids.
Booed?
Like
at an XCR race?
At an XCR race. There is a potential that I was getting booed out there. At the first lap, I'm like, okay, this Glenn Huntley guy in front of me, he must be called, I don't know, Rui. His nickname might be Rue or something. They're ruining him, you know, like. And then the next lap, like, there was quite a big distance between us, and I'm like, hold on, are they boos again? Am I getting targeted for boos? And then I didn't get a good enough look at the kids doing it. But I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, oh, I wonder if these kids think that I won't go and fuck them up afterwards if I found them. Like,
you come in 27th. I can't see why you'd get booed.
That's
you're
right.
You're that far behind, and
exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you realise I'm just a punter now, and that no one will care if, like, I recognise you in the car park later and find you. And I thought that was pretty bold by them, if it is the people that I'm considering. And I'm wondering, because you probably coach these kids.
Yeah, well, I do, but I don't know. I can't imagine they'd boo someone, especially at an XCR race. Like, it's just, that's not, I've never seen that ever. Like, there's definitely, like, you know, when you yell out stuff, but you have that connection with people, so you can, but it's not booing. Like, I hate booing.
There's never been a time where where anyone's yelled something in a running race that's been derogatory.
Yeah.
Like,
no. 100%.
There's all the fun stuff afterwards, warm up, cool down, banter, whatever. But during a race, like, there is a bond that everyone shares where you're like, yeah, we're fucking hurting on that hill. Everyone's hurting on that hill.
And that's a rough part of the course as well. So I don't know. I would really like to know, but I highly doubt it.
Well, ask around, find out. Just find out for me, and then let me know.
Yeah.
And then if it turns out that I got booed by a couple of Bendigo kids, oh boy, I can't wait to the next cross-country race.
Well, mate, we've got Eloise and Rory coming on soon. Maybe they can give you a few strategies to help with your mental toughness.
Mental toughness? I've got to work on my physical toughness if I'm going to take on a bunch of kids, 3-on-1. I did a long run the next day. I was pretty sore. My ankles were sore. All the old man stuff going on. I ran 90 minutes. Potentially, I fucking cooked it with this pair of shoes. I bought another pair of shoes that I really don't like. I bought the Asics Trabuco Max, which is a trail shoe. All our trails down here are pretty wet and muddy and shit. So I thought I need a second trail shoe in the mix, and I got this. And, yeah, I just don't like it. It's just not clicking with me. And the heel cup pushes right in my Achilles. And after 90 minutes, I really needed to get them off. So I decided to call it early. 20K, it was about 105K or so for the week, which, whatever, it is what it is. These cross-country races, they're knocking around my momentum, though, because I just don't recover from them. So I'm beat up Monday, workout, like I'm having to push workouts back, and having to cut mileage, cut long runs. So, yeah, I'm not sure whether I'm cut out for a full cross-country season anymore.
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? I think they can be so wonderful in building fitness as long as you can handle it and as long as you don't go too hard. Whereas if you don't have the fitness there prior to the season, and you don't want to be tapering either, and you don't want to be missing sessions because then it's just like, what's the point? So
yeah, that's right. It's not worth 3 or 4 weeks of 80% training. Although you do get a good result from fitness result from racing.
You do, yeah.
You're sounding like the old veteran of the footy club that rocks up for the Saturday games and says, "All right, boys, I'll see you next Saturday. Don't expect me at Tuesday, Thursday training."
Yeah. No, that's how I am feeling. And on Sundays, geez, I'm out the back now. Like, I used to be the guy pushing the pace on Sundays. Now I'm the guy at the back, yelling, snapping at people up the front to calm the fuck down.
How the mighty have fallen. All right, I'll whip through my week because we got Rory and Eloise coming on in about 15 minutes. So I didn't recap my week last week because I wasn't on the main show, but I'd come off 173K.
Oh, here he is.
I'd had a pretty good week, and I mentioned it on Road to Gold Coast last week that I was in Wagga for my long run, and it was dead flat, 100 meters of elevation in 36K. And I finished that run, didn't take any nutrition, averaged 353s. But at the end of it, it made me realize the benefit of hills because my legs are more cooked after an hour 45 running 415s through mulligans than they were after 36K at 353s on a dead flat surface. You just keep rolling and you're very efficient. So that was my takeaway from my Wagga long run on the flat. So Monday, back in Canberra, I did an hour, 4:14s. That afternoon, just jumped on the treadmill for 35 minutes. The Tuesday session was 12 by 1 minute hills with a 90-second jog back down recovery. So we do these between Old Parliament House and New Parliament House just because there's a little bit of light because we start the session at 6 p.m. And so the hill's not really that steep. It's probably somewhere between it's probably 3%, 3.5% maybe, which means you can run up the hills pretty fast, which sort of it turns into more of a fartlek because you're having 90 seconds recovery, but because you're not running that far or because you're running a fair distance in the 1 minute hills, you obviously then have to get back down. So, it was a good session. I didn't wear a heart rate strap, but I definitely felt like I was having some breathing issues, which I wasn't sure whether it was the heart or whether it was the just the cold air. But yeah, that was the session. I think not that times are relevant, but it was 3:05, sort of 3:10K pace on the hills. So that was Tuesday night. Wednesday, got out for my midweek long run, 26K, 4:04s. And then I did a double run that afternoon, 35 minutes at 4:10s. Thursday, back out at Mulligan's, 4:13s for 35 minutes with a few strides afterwards. And then my Friday morning session was 5 by 6 minutes with a 1 minute jog. And this started off harder than I thought. Largely, I think it was, the cold weather, it was pretty much zero when we started. And so my first rep was 3:13s. I thought that would feel a lot easier than it did. According to my heart rate, it was 151 average for that rep. So heart rate wasn't high, but just perceived effort was a little bit higher. And I'm not sure whether it was the cold, but also I don't know whether you guys find this, when you're in a relatively hard training block, because I've had weeks of 160, 173, and then I'm at the back end of nearly another 165K week. The first part of sessions can sometimes feel just a bit shit, and then you sort of get halfway through the session and you almost run out of the crap from the previous few days or the weeks, and you start to feel good towards the back end of the session.
100%. I get that a fair bit, and even I'm pretty diligent with doing drills and strides before a session, but still that first rep is just I feel halfway through the session I'm finally warmed up and ready to go. So it's just, I think, changing those expectations and knowing just going to effort.
Yeah. So this went pretty well in the end. I went 3:13, 3:12, 3:09, 3:08, 3:04 for the 6 minute reps, and I was jogging 1 minute in 4 minute Ks. And heart rate. I think I averaged like 160 for the whole session. So definitely working towards the end. Like, the last rep was probably faster than it needed to be. 3:14s for the whole session. Then that afternoon got out for a second run, 4:10s, 35 minutes. And then Saturday, an hour, 4:13s. And then treadmill Saturday afternoon, 35 minutes. And then on Sunday morning, met Rob, a guy that I coach, and Leanne Pompiani, and those two were doing like 30K. I was in two minds. Like, on my program was like a fast finish as my last sort of solid long run before Gold Coast. And I only really decided after 30K that I was going to do it. Because when they finished, I was like, I'm going to go a bit further. And then, I didn't press lap or anything like that. So I didn't actually know how fast I was running during the kick down bit, but I did 30K at probably like 4:10s, 4:11s, and then 4K at like 3:20s it worked out at. And that I didn't change shoes for that. I just did the whole run in the ASICS Super Blast. So that was a 34.5K at 4:04s for a week of 165. So I'm pretty happy with like where I've got myself to now. So I'll have a couple of lighter weeks now, do a bit of pacing at Gold Coast, and then hopefully come through the other side and get back into some training.
Mate, you've trained harder for this pacing gig than any race you've ever done.
Well, the one thing, I every time I go to Gold Coast and do this pacing, I want to be as fit as I can for it to be as enjoyable as possible. There'd be nothing worse than doing a pacing job and getting to like 16K and you're like hanging on. And then you can't think properly about the splits, and like I've never wanted it to be that way. So I figure if I can get myself as fit as possible, get a good workout, in at Gold Coast, and then build, like, that will hopefully bring my fitness up a little bit further, and then, hopefully get stuck into a good few months after Gold Coast.
Yeah, every time you do this, I say the same stuff. I'm like, fuck, you're wasting this training. Just get yourself in a race, mate. I want to see you run. I want to see you run fast.
Well, I'm still not in I don't know what I'd run for a marathon. I'm guessing like low 220, low 220s. I don't know. Probably similar to last year.
Yeah, chuck 6 weeks more here. Forget this pacing gig. Do 6 weeks more and you'll be doing all right, I reckon. Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Both this year and last year, because I don't do a full marathon, because I haven't done a full marathon block, I'd still be left wanting in that last 10K if I was to race the marathon. But I've got myself, as you said, into a position where if I had another 6 weeks of really marathon-specific stuff, I'd probably be going all right.
What about Sydney?
September.
Maybe.
Actually, on Sydney, so when Jimmy came on last week and he was talking about like top 5 in the world, like marathoners, you reckon Kipchoge's coming down?
Well, he could be. I mean, he's top 5 in the world. He's 1 of 5, right?
Yeah,
it's
and he gets
1
to
in 5 chance it's him.
Dodge Kelvin Kipton by coming here. Kelvin's not coming.
Kelvin's staying in Berlin.
Yep. Yeah, so I reckon Kipchoge could be the headline act at Sydney.
Well, they'd want to announce it soon to get a bit of that publicity working for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Berlin. When did Berlin announce? Early this week.
Yeah.
So
September. Last week. Yeah.
Yeah, last week. So a couple of weeks later, Sydney will announce. Mm-hmm. And what about women? Bridget Kosgei?
Yeah, maybe. Be interesting. That'll certainly get more people on the start line for sure. If they announce that, Kipchoge's coming and you get to, run with him. Well, not run with him, but be out the course with him.
Andy, did you listen last week?
I have, but I didn't get that far in because I think I only did like a 50-minute run. So I essentially just listened to you complaining about being up at the beach. I think that's all I got through.
Sore ankles, mate. One day you'll know about it. Top 5 in the world, both men and women, marathoners coming down to Sydney Marathon.
Mm. But you didn't really specify, is it one runner in the top 5 from like the male side and one runner in the top 5 from like the female?
That's how I thought it was.
Yeah, okay.
I just can't see Kipchoge come in. Like, Australia is so far away.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't see him coming all the way down here.
And he's not on the ambassador money train here.
But mate, he's on the slide. He's got to cash in now. He's not the top dog anymore.
No, that's right. No, this is where the money's at here. Sydney Marathon, they got plenty.
They do have plenty.
Let's thank some Patreons, and then we'll get Eloise and Rory on. Do you want to go first, Moose?
Yep, I have Tom Giles from Sydney. So he is a strength and conditioning coach at Up to Speed Athletic. I might Google that later. Has goals of running sub 2 800.
Yep.
Sub 4:15, sub 9 3K. Surely that's meant to say 15.
No, 16.
Oh, I reckon if we're going with the trend of earlier, that should say 15. And sub 33, sub 74. So let's just play that out a little. Sub 2, you ever done that, Andy?
Yes, I have. 155.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Sub 4, what do you run?
15 or mile?
15.
Yeah, 3:45.
Okay, pretty good. Pretty good.
Yep.
And you've gone sub 8?
Yes.
And then sub 14 you've gone, obviously?
Yep.
What do you reckon's the hardest to do out of those numbers?
Well, I think it depends what sort of runner you are.
Yeah.
Sub 2 is pretty hard.
Yeah, I reckon sub 2. Yeah, I'd say sub 2.
For an older runner, for sure.
Strength and conditioning coach, you reckon he's one of them power athletes? You'd think so.
He's come close though, Moose, on a couple.
Has he?
Goals.
Do you coach him?
No. Read the next part.
Oh yeah, ran 16:10 on the track last October. 33:30 at this year's Sydney 10. Or this year, that gets a tick. 75:40 at last year's New South Wales half marathon champs. Yeah, okay. So he's targeting the longer stuff though now, by the sounds of it. Yeah. That's where his results are at.
Good luck, Tom.
Yeah, good on you, Tom. Thank you.
Who have you got, Andy?
I've got Ivar Berget, I think his name is, from Garran in ACT. Where the hell is that, Croaks?
Garran.
So it's down, like sort of in the centre of Canberra, down near the Canberra Hospital, main hospital.
Yeah, I've actually stayed near there.
Can I tell you a funny story about Garran? So
Go.
Bree, my wife, she went to school with a kid called Garran, and this is why. Because his mum, her name was Karen, and her dad was called Gary. And they're like, let's call our kid Garran. Let's just combine our names and call him Garran.
That's the most Australian thing I've ever heard.
Garran. Classic.
I love that. We couldn't find too many results, but we believe he has ran 83:45 at the 2021 Western Creek Half Marathon. So Western Creek, that's also in Canberra. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Consultant
and director at Kia Consulting. And he's apparently spent time in the Norwegian army, which I don't know. I feel like that'd be a pretty crazy army. Funny story as well. I work with a guy who used to be in the Bulgarian army, and he said that he was telling us these stories, and he said back in the 70s and 80s, a successful training camp would be when they only lost a few soldiers. So when they only killed a few soldiers, they thought that was successful. So I wonder if the Norwegian army is similar to the Bulgarian army.
We'll have to get Brady to ask Christian on the next monthly episode.
Yeah, Norway, I just feel like they'd do hardcore things.
Have they ever been in a war, though, Norway? I don't know.
No idea. Well, Norwegian history is not great, Moose.
I'm not sure they've been in the war at all. They're too high up. No one wants to invade Norway.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Vikings. Yes, that's all I know about Norwegian history, the Vikings. Anyway, I've got a Norwegian shout-out to Frode Berg. He's got a 10K PB of 41:55 from this year's Drammen 10K, which I think is Christian's race that he puts on. Half PB of 94 minutes from the 2022 Jessheim Winter Marathon, which was 1 minute faster than his PB from 20 years ago. And his marathon PB is 3:45. Looks like he does a bit of Zwift on the treadmill. You blokes ever got into that?
No.
Oh, the guy who, one of the guys who was heavily involved in Swift, he lived in Ballarat, and he came in and he told us about it. And then, do you remember Sean Kravitz, Andy?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Was he a Kiwi?
Yeah, he was. He was, and he went to college, and then he came back and lived in Melbourne. Well, he started working for Zwift, and he came down to Ballarat, and he talked us through it. He set it up on our treadie down there, and he showed me what it looks like. But at the time, no one was on it, so you would log in and you'd go for a run, but there would be no other people there, so it was kind of a little bit pointless. Whereas now it looks like there's people that are doing that.
Yeah, I reckon it could become a bit addictive.
Yeah,
I think it's great for cycling, but I don't know. I never run on a treadmill, so I never want to. Whereas with cycling, they do a lot of stuff on their indoor trainers and that, and I think it could be good. And there's obviously a lot of famous climbs, like you can do Ventoux, all that stuff. But I just feel like running's just not. It's not quite there, but it could get good.
But then I think a lot of people with the cycling, they have 3-week tours and stuff like that on Zwift for cycling. But people will just lie about what they weigh and stuff, which then changes their whole watts per kilo. And I think it's pretty easy to fudge results sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
And does the Zwift change your incline on the bike?
Yeah, so
I
it
guess
makes
it would be
it harder.
resistance.
Yeah, the gear is harder.
So you have to have a proper bike that's linked to Zwift.
Yeah.
Or can you just put your own bike on and it does change it for you?
It kind of hooks into a trainer that you're chained, that you put it through the quick axle at the back, and then that trainer does that.
Oh, okay. So you can use your own bike.
You can use your own bike, yep.
Yeah, right. Okay.
If there's one marathon you do this year, really make it count. We're ecstatic to announce that the Sydney Marathon presented by ASICS is a candidate race for the prestigious Abbott World Marathon Majors. To help us reach our goal of becoming one of the world's best, we need passionate runners like you to join us on this amazing journey. Incredibly, we've already set a new Australian marathon record with over 10,000 runners who have already registered from all around the world. The Sydney Marathon now has more participants registered than any other marathon in Australian history. By securing your spot in the Sydney Marathon this year, you'll also be receiving over $1,000 in added value as part of our Sydney Marathon Candidacy Club. You'll be guaranteed a spot on the start line when it becomes an Abbott World Marathon Major in 2025. You'll get a free 12-month subscription to the ASICS Runkeeper Go app. You'll have access free to Eloise Welling's Marathon State of Mind training program, which is valued at $900. And save big on your hotel accommodation with marathon tours and travel. Run over the Sydney Harbour Bridge, finish at the Sydney Opera House, and help us join the ranks of a world-renowned marathons such as New York, London, Boston, Chicago, Berlin, and Tokyo. Grab your mates and register today so we can make history in the best way we know how, together.
All right, let's try and give Eloise and Rory a call. This week's training talk is sponsored by the Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS. Join them this September in their bid to become an Abbott World Marathon Major. Be part of history at sydneymarathon.com. And joining us, we have special guests Eloise Wellings, a two-time Olympian, and Rory Darkins, a mental skills coach, who have partnered up with Sydney Marathon to deliver a mindset training course, which will be available to all those who have registered for this year's Sydney Marathon. So firstly, welcome Eloise and Rory. Great to have you on.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, I might start with you, Rory, because we've had Eloise on a few times in the past, but I've heard a bit about you, but it's the first time I've got to speak to you. So do you want to sort of just introduce yourself and let us know what a mental skills coach does and what you do?
Yeah, thank you. So my background is in studying psychology and also particularly in the sports space. I've really been on a mission the last 10 or more years to understand how we optimize well-being and performance. And so I'm just finishing up my PhD at the moment. But in amongst all that, for the best part of that decade, I've been working closely with Eloise and other elite athletes to help them optimize their mindset so that they can get the best out of themselves, achieve their sporting goals, but really enjoy that process as well. And so I love that I get to do this, and definitely a big geek on all the science of performance and well-being.
And you're a runner yourself, I believe. You're Eloise's pacemaker a lot of the time.
Yeah, one of the perks is that we get to do all of our training together, which is a lot of fun. And I've learned a lot through just being around Eloise so much, and obviously training with her. And I've loved the whole process of doing the build-ups for the various marathons that she's been training for, and the Commonwealth Games and Olympics that she's been training for. So definitely love my running and amongst all of that, and privileged to be able to work so closely with her.
Yeah, and you two have partnered up with Sydney Marathon to bring this marathon state of mind course to all the people that are registered for the Sydney Marathon this year. I believe the course starts on the 6th of August. Do you want to fill us in on what the course involves?
Yeah, so the course has been basically being developed for a number of years now. As Rory said, he's been my mental skills coach for the last 8 years, I guess. And, it's helped me so much just to be able to not only enjoy the sport, but obviously, come back after having time off and just, I guess, build the mental skills that are necessary for high performance and enjoy the process of doing so. And we kind of thought, why can't we make this accessible to everybody, to anyone who wants to run a marathon? And that's what we got about doing.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I think the marathon in particular, as you guys know, is a real metaphor for life. It's such a challenge, and it's obviously a physical challenge, and you need to do all the physical work to have a great experience with it. But the mental part is huge with the marathon, and I think there's no better opportunity to develop mental skills than by embracing a physical challenge and mental challenge like the marathon. And so I think it's this real unique opportunity to really develop mental skills that, one, help us to have a great experience and get the best out of ourselves in running, but also transfer into other areas of our life.
Hey, to me, this is such an interesting topic, because it's just so hard to identify when the physical and the mental kind of cross over. So, for instance, someone goes out really hard and they blow up and they have a terrible second half of their race. And they often say, I was really weak mentally in the back half, or I felt like I quit. But it's the physical side of it that's forcing that to happen. So, how do you guys talk about that? Because this, it's such an open question, but I guess I don't really know anything about what you do. So, is that an example of something you work on?
Oh, totally. I think the first thing to say with that is that the mind and the body are not separate. When we're out doing anything like running a marathon, we're like us as a person, and so it's really, the mental skills in many ways, a lot of them are about connecting in with your body and actually being in tune. And so that you're actually better able to gauge things like what's the right effort for the stage I'm in, and, how to even pace yourself better, because you're in tune with yourself and you're able to discern the difference between, this is a normal feeling and I can lean into that, versus this is actually a signal to just back off a bit, so, and that's why I think the marathon's such a great time to practice the mental skills, because for many hours of the week you're out physically doing something difficult, and it presents all these opportunities for us to almost get to know how we speak to ourselves better, and and to tune in better, and to learn these skills that then can help us to make great decisions that move us towards what we want. So it's definitely not a case of separating the mental and the physical and treating them as different things. It's just going, it's using an awareness of ourselves mentally, to get better results physically, and also to be more connected to what's actually happening physically in the moment. And so much of the mental skills come back to how can we actually be in the present moment.
Yeah, interesting. It's like, so as an example, like Eloise, like not going to your best. We're going to talk about something where mentally it might have got tough. So at Nagoya, you took a punt, you went with a fast pack, and then things got difficult. Like, what type of strategies do you employ, or what type of training prepared you for that moment, like mentally?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing that I've been able to gain from this sort of mental skills training is noticing my inner critic and turning it around to become an inner coach. And if I hadn't have had those skills, I can 100% categorically say that I would not have finished that race in Nagoya. And I would, and I would have run a lot slower. I think the skills that the ability to be able to notice your inner critic and not dance with it, not engage with it, and just notice it and turn the volume up of your inner coach and come up with some one-liners that mean a lot to you, is a skill. And it's a skill that I've been practicing for the last couple of years when the pressure is on. And, that definitely that day in Nagoya this year was one of those times that I had to use it. And to be honest, the first time I ran Nagoya, I also needed to use it. Even though the races were going completely differently, I still had to use that skill. And it's that skill of noticing, your inner critic and noticing what comes up and just being conscious of it, but not allowing it to impact me or affect me by, then, coming back with my, my inner coach and my one-liners was able to help propel me forward.
Yeah. So these one-liners you talk of, are they like emotive things that mean a lot to you, or do you have certain one-liners that you use at different parts of the race, like early on, maybe calm you down a little, or like
I mean, they're all like connected with my values and also they're things that I know, they're it's how would I speak to someone else that I really love? How do I speak to one of my best friends? If I was standing on the sidelines cheering to someone that I loved and respected, how would I be talking to them? That's exactly how we should be talking to ourselves. And that's what we've got to practice when things aren't going well, because there's such a tendency when you're under pressure like that, and when you're when you're not having as good a day as you had hoped, and you feel like things are going to crap, and you need to be able to use your mind to be able to keep going forward and in a positive manner. And I know that finishing that day in Nagoya will, as I said, I think I posted about it on Instagram, like it lays a foundation for the next good day. And, we all have those days, and I think the more that we can learn from them and the more we can practice who we want to be when it gets tough. And I think that that's probably the main point, is all these skills are teaching you is to work out and find out and discover who you actually want to be whilst doing the thing that you love to do. And it's the outcome and the result is it's not irrelevant, but when you be who you want to be in the race, the outcome and the result will take care of itself.
And just to pick up on that, I think it's such a good point. Like, so often the mental skills, you can think of them as like, getting through and bouncing back from things when it's not going well. But it's every bit as much about, learning from and understanding what's going to give things the best chance of going well, and so whether, so that we know that come into a situation like a marathon, we have everything we need to get through whatever might happen, and to get through in a way that we're really happy with. And then we don't have to be as, we're not defined by like, the outcome being the be all end all. We're actually know that we've got what it takes to get through that experience really, really well, and then give ourselves every chance of the outcome being, as good or better than we hope it could be, and so it's as much about high performance as it is about, getting through difficult things.
And how's this Marathon State of Mind course delivered for those people that have signed up for Sydney Marathon and want to take advantage of it?
Yeah, thanks. It's been so great to see so many people who have registered to run the Sydney Marathon sign up already. And the way the course works is structured to begin 6 weeks before the marathon, and we'll have a weekly live call, so like a Zoom type call, which will cover a key mental skill, but also give the opportunity for some interactive Q&A. And then one of the things we're really proud of with our course is that we've got a very personalized online training platform, which operates essentially like an app, where the individuals can be guided through applying the mental skills in their training and in their daily life, and they can do their homework, if you like, in a really efficient way. So with some short video resources, but also some really interactive sessions where they're guided to set goals in a way that actually will help them to have a great experience, and guided to apply each of the mental skills and really make the learning that we're talking about their own, as opposed to just learning a concept and then feeling like that's it. It's like, how does this apply to me? How can I go test this out? What can I learn from that? And so that's how it's going to work in terms of the week in between each call. Is like there's opportunities for people to go and work on their skills in their own way, in their own time, and integrate it into what they're already doing with their training. So that come race day, we know that we've got what we need. We've really refined our understanding of what works for us and our mental game plan, you could call it. And so that race day is just this opportunity to go and really be present and enjoy the experience and give your absolute best, or whatever it is that's meaningful to you on the day. You can know that you've got what you need to go and do that. So really excited about this community through Sydney Marathon that are going to be on this journey together.
And no doubt, Eloise, you'll be applying a lot of this stuff to your upcoming marathon, which is less than 2 weeks away now. How's the prep been for Gold Coast? And any goals for that race?
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to be applying a lot of it. Another opportunity to go out and see what I've got. And the prep's been great. The prep has been probably my most fun so far. We've just had a lot of fun doing this build up, and it's gone really well. I've been able to hit most, if not all, the training that was asked of me, and been a really good opportunity to practice the mental skills and everything. Some of the bigger sessions, we did our last big workout last Friday. And that was another opportunity to just practice who I want to be in the race. And the idea of that workout is that the last 5K will feel like the last 12K in the marathon. And Nick's only given me that workout, I think 3 times so far out of, I think this is my 6th marathon. That was really good. It was, as uncomfortable as it sounds, but it was a good opportunity to practice all these things. And really looking forward to Gold Coast, and know a lot of people running, and it's going to be a really fun time up there. My kids are coming, and hubby as well, and we're just going to hopefully go up and have a really good time.
Planning on jumping on the front pack pace group?
Well, I don't know what pace they're going at, but if they're going at the pace that I'm going at, sure, why not?
The last I heard was around 72, but I'm not sure whether that's changed. 72 through half, that is.
Okay, yeah, good.
Cool. All right, well, thanks. Any more questions, Moose?
One. So you guys train together. Do you guys do workouts together?
Yeah, so it's Rory and I do most of our workouts together, and we have a couple of others that come for warm up, and LJ and Stewie rides a bike, and Harry, who's a professional triathlete, he does a number of workouts with us, and Jake as well. So we've got a little crew, but yeah, mostly doing the bigger sort of build up workouts is just Rory and I.
Yeah, and so does Rory sort of coach you through during the workouts? Does he play a part in like some of that chat?
Coach me in terms of physically?
Like good, like, mentally coach you, like at the end of a tough rep. Is he helping you with mental strategies at that point, or are you guys just working hard and there's no talking?
It's actually we actually bicker a little bit at our workouts.
It's funny because I in our workouts, like, probably the whole kind of outside of the workout is probably where we do most of the talking, and even like right before a workout, we're really intentional about what we want to get out of it and what the kind of mental game plan is. But once we're in it, I think it's more often about just being in it and then learning afterwards. We're really conscious not to like judge as we're doing it, because I think that's one of the big mistakes we often make, is particularly in running or in sport in general, is like if we're judging how we're going while we're doing it, it's sort of getting in the way of us getting the best out of ourselves. So but that said, I do have been known to sometimes kind of intentionally throw a few curveballs just to kind of add a few dynamics to the session that I feel are going to help us. So that
doesn't always go down.
Can't imagine that would go down.
I appreciate the thought, but yeah, we, as Rory said, we use the warm up intentionally as what we want to get out of the workout and how we want it to go, and ideally what we want it to look like and who we want to be in that, what success is, I guess. And then in the cool down, kind of debrief it. And
like every now and then I'll go, okay, I'm going to run this rep in the opposite direction, like just to go.
Just absolutely kill me.
Well, thanks for giving up some time tonight. It sounds like this program is going to be a success for all those people that have signed up for Sydney Marathon, and no doubt see both of you up on the Gold Coast in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
No worries. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks.
All right, running news. We've got a bit of it. Moose, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Well, we're going to open up actually with little bit of announcement. So Running Company Geelong with On Running and Inside Running podcast got a treadmill challenge coming up. So what this is a good chance for people to make some money. So Andy, you love money. We've already talked about that. You'd be interested in this, I reckon. So you've got 10 minutes worth of running. Tread is set on 15%, and we've got 12 runners, 12 men, 12 women, and the furthest distance within that 10 minutes wins $1,000. What do you reckon about that?
Sounds very challenging, and I thought Croaks would be flying down for it because he's the main money man. But I don't know. I don't run on a treadmill, so I can't comprehend what 15% is. How hard? Like, yeah,
it's pretty hard, mate. It's pretty hard, but it's 10 minutes. And it's $1,000, so it's $100 a minute.
We'll just take our pacing money, thanks, Moose, but everyone else should get involved.
I don't know. I reckon it's easy cash. It's easy cash. $500 if you're second, $100 if you're third. We're going to live stream it. It's going to be a pretty fun night, actually. On Running they're throwing the cash at it. So I like the idea. I mean,
have many people sign up yet?
Yeah, we've definitely got some come through. So send your applications in. Send them to hit up the Running Company Geelong Facebook page or Instagram page, and we'll let you know how to go about it. But I think we're going to get a pretty good field here. I heard some On Athletic Club people coming down, and look, $1,000, mate. You can't go and win that every weekend. That's 10 minutes, Andy. Come on, mate.
I I like the idea of it, but it's just, I don't know. I reckon I'd be cactus after it. I'd be like what you're like after an XCR race.
Yeah, it's only 10 minutes, mate. You probably have to walk a bit and you still win money. Anyway.
All right, let's step up a level to some Diamond League and some Aussie records, hey?
Oh, this was big. So pretty crazy, actually, this meet, Oslo Diamond League. We talked about a massive meet the week before. Now we're talking about another huge one. So we had Jakob in the 15. Bloke's unbeatable. We say that every week. He's taken on a bit of a supervillain almost with some of his interviews as well. 327.95. He beat Mohammed Katir 328 with Yared Nagusi 329. So that's very top end. 8 people broke 330. Jakob 6th all time there. However, Oli Hoare ran an Australian record of 329.41. So him and Stewie have sort of gone tit for tat a little on this. Now Ollie owns it, and he's come 7th in that race, and he's run an Australian record. Like, you'd think you'd run 329.41, you're sort of vying for the win, but no, he's like a couple of seconds back. But incredible, good to see Ollie snag a record like that, sort of been thereabouts. You watched this, Croaks?
Yeah, I did. Like, in terms of Ollie's run, like, it seemed a bit bittersweet for him. Like, the interviews I saw was like, oh yeah, no, like, it's awesome to run an Aussie record, but you know, Ollie's a competitor, and so I don't think he's happy to finish 7th in a race, like, because he sees himself. Well, he has in the last few years. He's pretty much been the guy that's been like on Jakob's shoulder for a lot of the race, and you know, to be towed up by both of his training partners wouldn't have went down very well, even though he, you know, does have the Aussie record now. But yeah, like, Ingebrigtsen he just seems to control the race, and like in most 1500s, you often see people like kick for home with 200. He just grinds them into the ground basically, and just gradually pulls away. But I want to hear more, because there's been a bit of mail lately, Moose, about bit of a rift between the Ingebrigtsen brothers and their dad, and their dad's now coaching the other Norwegian who ran under 330 in this same race. So I heard there's a bit of beef there, and Christian's holding out on us a little bit.
Well, no, Christian called me that night, actually.
Did he?
Yeah. So we had a chat about this, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus here. So I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but he did give me a bit of a rundown on the whole situation, and yeah, I'll chat about it afterwards. I can't go on air with it here. It's going to be. That's all right.
Right. Well, maybe it's something that he can break on the monthly with Brady next episode.
Yeah, well, that would be a big breaking news story.
It's it is an interesting storyline there, though, that, you know, the brothers have broken away from their dad, Gert, and now Gert's coaching this other Norwegian who has made massive improvements in the last year, to the point that he's like, he's not quite at Jakob's standard, but he's, you know, sub 330, you know, mightn't be long until he starts winning.
Christian calls him the people's champ too. Like, big man of the people, this bloke. They're getting behind him. I should mention what his name is, actually.
Yeah, what's his name? Anyway, it's here it is. Narve Nordas.
Narve, yeah.
Narve Nordas. Anyway, that's a name to watch. Take us to the 5K, Moose.
Yeah, huge again. Yomif Kajalcha ran 12:41, so that's 6th all time. Jakob Kiplimo, or perhaps he prefers Jacob Kiplimo, he ran 12:41.73. So they've given him like the same time here. However, Yomif was given the win. How do you go in front when it's exactly the same time?
They would have went to like the 1000th and then gone to basically the photo to see whose chest was across the line or touched the line first.
Pretty insane. Like 7:31 last 3K, 2:24 last kilometre. So this is definition of kick down. You ever run 2:24K, Andy?
I don't reckon I've run anywhere near that for a K. And this race was crazy. Like, it's Oslo is becoming the new Monaco. Like it's and I watched it, and that stadium, it's pretty tightly packed, and it just looks like a massive event. And this, I was cheering for Kiplimo, and I thought he was going to hold on, but then Kajalcha just got him. That I think those longer legs just meant he could lean slightly more forward. But it was a pretty exciting race, this one. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was a third place, Talahun Haile Bakili, 12:46. Jack Rayner was in the race. Your teammate, he ran 13:38. I think he was last. Is that correct?
I think so, but he was never, like, to be honest, he started like at the back, was never really in it, like wasn't, attacking at all.
Well, how could you be in the race?
Yeah, he was last.
Yeah, when they're running 12:41, like, I mean, still quite a long way off what he would expect. You would think 13:38. Like, he's a 13:10 or quicker guy. You have to consider based off his 10K.
Yeah, he was running with coach, what's his name, Henrik, for a while, and I think he ran 13:18,
Henrik.
13:18, sorry, yeah. So he was running with him for a bit, because I think he just knew that pace out the front was going to be too hot, but then he just seemed to lose a bit in the last 2 laps. So yeah, not sure why that was a little bit off, but
hasn't been a great start. Yeah. Well, just MTC in like Stewie hasn't had a great start to the season. Jack now, it's been a rough start for that group. Do you know much, Andy?
I don't know too much. I think Stewie's just struggling with a few different injuries. He was injured before he went over there, but I don't know. You never discount Stewie. I think he made the right call though, not to go to Oslo. But it would have been hard for him knowing that everything going to plan, he would have been in that race, and then to see Oli steal his Australian record would have been pretty tough. But it was a great race, and I think Oli would have been most disappointed in getting third out of his training group, like running an Australian record and getting third in your training group. That's just because I think he sees himself as that alpha male there. So,
well, I think he also sees himself as the guy that, like, he's the one that could actually challenge Jakob, or that's how it looked last season. Whereas now you're like, man, I'm finishing 7th. Like, there's all these other guys now that, like, I was beating last year that I'm not now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how not how he bounces back, because he's in career best form. But it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season. And last race,
we saw an Australian record go down in the mile. So Jess Hull, she took her own Australian record. She ran 4:18.24. She was third in the race. Won by Berkey Halom, a 17-year-old Ethiopian. She ran 4:17.13. Corey McGee, American, 4:18. And Jess Hull was in third. So Australian record again for Jess. Linden Hall actually it was Linden's record, was it?
Yeah, I thought Linden held the old mile record.
Yeah, all right, my bad then. So Linden, she actually ran underneath her own mile record as well. So she ran a PB in 4:19.60.
I might have to fact check that though.
No, I think you could be right, because Jess Hull broke her own 1500 record.
Yeah. And
then this could have been Linden's. So those guys sort of again tit for tat a bit in terms of record breaking.
Yeah. That Halom, she's a star. She's only 17, and like she was basically out solo. They came back to her a little bit towards the end, but she had a massive gap with like a lap to go.
Yeah, wow. Imagine having the confidence when you're 17 to do that.
Yeah. All right, Andy, a few domestic cross-country results.
Yeah, so there was some good results in Oslo, but most of the attention over the weekend was definitely on XCR Cruden Farm. So pretty good turnout there. Some good results across the board. So in the men, this is a bit awkward, but I was first. And then Cashin, Liam Cashin actually ran really well. That's probably his best XCR result. I think he got third there last year, but this is his best result, placing second, 20-odd seconds behind. And then Lachlan Herd, pretty impressive race from a 15 3K guy. he come out with us and I thought, what are you doing, Lockie? You did this at Bendigo and blew up, but he actually held on pretty well for third. And then in the real race, the Bats got the win. So Bendigo Bats, they were 92. Box Hill, again, second, 105, and Western A's were 141. So that's pretty close in the team battles there. It's kind of if someone has an off day, you can bleed a lot of points. So it's good to see that that's getting pretty spicy halfway through the round. And then in the women's, pretty close race. I'm pretty sure interesting because the women start with the men, and that would be chaotic because there's a lot of people on the start lines and you'd be running as a woman not knowing where your competition is. So that, I don't know, I'd be interested to know from these ladies if they actually prefer having the guys around or if they'd rather start by themselves, which is what they normally do. But Stella Radford got the win there. Victoria, how do you pronounce this last name?
Skaltsonis.
She finished second, which I think she was on the podium at Bendigo, and then Saskia Lloyd was third. There was about 10 seconds between all three girls. So they would have been, if I was Stella, you'd be pretty nervous looking around and you just see guys and you'd be wondering how close they are. St. Stephen's got the win, 58. They have one less competitor than the men. Box Hill second and Glen Huntley third. So some big results there. Not sure where Geelong finished. They must have been a fair bit down
Fourth.
Down the table. That's a good result for you guys. You'd be happy with that.
Well, yeah, pretty good considering that I'm the first runner. That's a real worry. So we've got a tight cluster come in behind me, but we got no top 20. You need a top 20 if you want to be on the podium. But yeah, tight cluster in the mid pack area.
Yeah. Now, who are you for the Premier men's? Who are you picking? Who's going to win the premiership? Moose.
Yeah. I actually think you guys will.
Who's on top at the moment and what's the points difference?
Yeah, so Glen Huntley were on top because they won the first two rounds, but then they went missing at Cruden, and I think they finished 5th or 6th. So we've now gone on top. And then I think Western A's a second, Box Hill a third, and Glen Huntley a fourth. But I think there's 4 or 5 points between those top 4 teams. So it's going to be on.
I reckon because you guys will go well over the 15K.
Yeah, you've got a few longer distance crew in there, not just kids. You'll be able to pull out the half marathon as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps not the tan relays, maybe not.
Yeah.
But
Box Hill will be good there.
But you'll have it sewn up by that stage.
That's right. Yeah.
But no, I think it's going to be interesting. So Bendigo Bats back on top. The town was abuzz on Monday. It's like all the footy clubs have won a premiership. That's how excited everyone was. So Brady, were you happy with that little bat chat there?
Mute him, Croaks.
Yeah.
New South Wales held their cross-country champs. Was this at Nowra, Croaks?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yep, so the second toughest cross-country course in Australia. Ed Goddard backing up, interesting, off a half marathon and then a cross-country race ahead of a marathon in 2 weeks. I don't know. What are our thoughts on that?
Well, we'll go through the results and I'll tell you what he did after this cross-country race.
Okay, so Ed Goddard won by about 15 seconds. Hamish Longworth was second with Harrison McGill in third. All pretty close there. Ainsley Van Grande won the women's race with Katie St. Lawrence, guessing that's Benny's wife, and Neve Allen was in third. So some good results there, but tell us what crazy Ed did.
From the footage I saw, Ed pretty much had this sewn up really early on and, probably tempoed it. But then the next day, there's quite a famous fun run in Sydney called Mini Mossman. And so he backed up Sunday morning and ran 30-40 for a 10K, which is it's actually a hilly 10K. He raced twice on the weekend.
Oh, geez,
and he's got Gold Coast in less than 2 weeks, which Brady's recording right now their road to Gold Coast. You'd hear all about that over there on Patreon.
Yeah, that'd be interesting listening, because I hope he hasn't burnt too many bickies, because you want to go into that marathon with the petrol tank in.
What about the lack of marathon training? Like at some point, like running 10K road races, cross-country races, half marathons, to me, that isn't good marathon training. Like, you're really missing a couple of key ingredients that makes a good marathon. But look, he has 2 or 3 coaches guiding him, so it's in their hands, I guess.
Proof will be in the pudding.
And he hasn't nailed a marathon yet, so it's not like he can come back on those big, when you've done a few marathon build-ups, kind of if you get a bit sick or you get a bit of a niggle, you can kind of rely on that strength that you've built from those previous ones, whereas I feel like he's never really done a good, proper, what I would call a marathon build. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Will be interesting to see. You want to put a time? Or you're not going to be that brave?
No, I'll be brave. I'm going to say 2:14:30.
2:14:30. You reckon what? Okay, what's he at halfway then?
I reckon he'll be on 2:12 pace at halfway.
All right. No, I think
he'll go quicker than that.
Yeah, he'll go through. No, he'll go through half quicker than that, but finish slower than that.
Oh, so what are you going, Moose? You're going like 2:15.
I'll go 2:15 high, but threw in 65:30.
I'll give him a 2:13 low.
It's a tough course.
Weather's going to play a part as well, if it's humid or whatever. But
yeah, he's Sydney though, so he's probably used to it a little bit.
Anyway, I guess we'll find out in 2 weeks.
Wait and see.
Just a few other bits and pieces for the 800 fans out there. Joey Deng is back and Peter Bowl returns to racing. So Joseph Deng ran 1:44.48 within the last week, which is his second fastest time ever, and only 0.48 off Bowl's national record. And Pete Bowl himself opened up his season with a 1:45.81. So good to see those guys both racing. We spoke about it earlier, Moose, that there's going to be a world record attempt in Berlin by Kelvin Kiptum. But in other news relating to Kelvin, himself, Jeffrey Camworrell and Bridget Kosgei have all withdrawn from the world champ. So they heard Andy Buchanan wasn't going and they've gone, all right, if it's not good enough for Andy, I'm not going either.
Money talks.
Yeah.
Money talks there. Don't know what Andy's given his other excuse, but these blokes and Bridget give up $1 million to sign on to Sydney Marathon, maybe.
Maybe, yep. Well, I think Kipchoge's coming. Heard it here first. And then just some information that was on last week's show that we didn't get to, just comrades. This, for me, like this race always, every time it comes up, I'm like, I definitely want to get across there one year. They have 17,000 starters. And this year, Tedder Dijana defended his title in 5 hours 13:58 and broke the down course record by more than 4 minutes. And Herda Stain, she ran 5:44.56 to shave 9 minutes and 47 seconds off the record, which stood for 34 years. Aussie Wayne Spees, he's 50 and he ran the fastest time by an Aussie and finished 26th overall. He ran 5:42. And I believe that was also an over 50s course record. And interestingly enough, Joe Fukuda, who's on the start list for Gold Coast, he won last year. He's a 2:09 guy. He was leading for part of Comrades, but faded to finish 20th. So it'll be interesting to see whether he actually backs up and runs Gold Coast in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, talking of interesting prep.
So
he's a different character, that bloke.
This sort of race never appealed to you, you reckon, Andy, Comrades? I reckon you'd be good over the hills.
Yeah, I think it might later on in my life, but not at the moment.
When you're my age.
Yeah, when I'm old like you, Croaks. So it does seem pretty cool, and I follow a guy that lives over in South Africa, and he's got a bit of a running club, and he's set up at the finish line, and I saw a lot of Instagram stuff, and it looks like a wild time because that whole thing where it gets to that cutoff and they essentially close it so you don't finish seems brutal, but looks like great viewing.
Yeah, I'd love to do it one year. You in, Moose? You keen?
Nah, I don't think so. Maybe
Bogan Hoffman, man. This will suit you.
Nah, it's hard work on the asphalt, mate. It's not like trails that are soft and there's heaps of variance in it. It's like really difficult, and it's not cold either. It gets bloody hot over there.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
I want to learn how to train for it. That's what I need to find out, because I think it's completely different sport to just a marathon.
Well, how far is it?
It's 87.7.
Wayne Spies has done really freaking well. Like fastest time ever by an Aussie, and we've had some good ones there. Over 50 course record.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He's I actually messaged him today because I want to do an interview with him, largely to find out about his running journey, because he ran his marathon PB last year at Gold Coast. He ran 2:25 at 49.
Yeah.
So I'll try and get him on in the next few weeks. All right. Do you want to do the listener question? We'll make it real quick.
Yep. So this week's question: favorite taper session leading into the marathon. By B. Hursty. So, good question.
You can go first, Andy. So, I think it's a good one, given Gold Coast is less than 2 weeks now. So, you've pretty much got, you're in those sort of taper sessions now. So, what's your go-to?
Yeah, so it depends on, taper. It's very vague. So, is it the week of, or is it 2 weeks out? So, essentially 2 weeks out, I like to hit a bit of marathon pace, because by this stage you've kind of worked out what you want that to be. So I like to hit maybe up to 6K of marathon pace, just to kind of really feel what that feels like, get a bit of confidence from it. So that's kind of 2 weeks out. I do a little bit of stuff before that just to increase, but essentially that volume's coming down, but that your pace is still staying at marathon pace. And then the week before, I like to do sessions that aren't measurable. So I don't do 8x K, because I don't really want to put a measure on where I'm kind of at. Whereas I like to do just little things like a mile and some 45-second reps or stuff where it's just purely running to feel. You're not checking your watch to see, how fast am I going? How does this compare to when I did this 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks ago? So yeah, that's what I like to do.
Yeah. Moose?
Yeah. It's similar. I like to hit marathon pace in pretty much every session leading up in the last 2 to 3 weeks. So 3 weeks or 2 weeks out, I do on the Sunday, 10K easy pace, 10K marathon pace, and then maybe 5K a little quicker. And when I say a little quicker, bottom range marathon pace. 10 days, might do something like 12 minutes marathon pace, 6 minutes half, 4 minutes 10, 2 minutes at 5K, just sort of going through the gears a little bit. A week out, I cut the long run these days. I don't feel like it's any point doing that, so we do a workout instead, marathon pace workout. And then I always pretty much do the same thing 3 or 4 days out from the marathon, which is 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes at marathon pace, progressing a little bit quicker. And then you can have 90 seconds to 3 minutes kind of rest, depending on how you're feeling. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the last 2 weeks, something like a 2x5K at marathon pace, or 10K made up of 2K at marathon pace, 5K a bit harder. Quite like that one, because it just practices it's like, you get a little bit excited in the marathon and you start running a little bit faster, and then you got to dial it back into marathon pace again. So do that for 10K, and then race week, a few 2-minute reps early on in the week, and then later in the week, race warm up and 3K at marathon pace. And that's it. Hayes in the barn.
There you go. Bang.
Moose on the loose.
I got a quick one. So let me just pull it up. I saw a tweet, a good one during the week. Terrible one, to be honest. It's from United States of America. So the USA Track and Field. So at USA TF. And it is on June 16. So it says it's clearly a sponsored, they must sponsored post or whatever. Time to supercharge your workouts. USA Track and Field partner KT Tapes Pro Oxygen combines the durability of KT tape Pro with the power of salient infrared technology. This combo is designed to help make oxygen more available to your cells to unleash your potential. Hashtag crush every workout. So this is the national body promoting this KT tape, and they're saying that it will help make oxygen more available to your cells. And this is the national body, right? And so the first tweet reply is from Trent Stellingworth, who is like an exercise phys or exercise scientist with Athletics Canada. Can you reference one article to support this? What bullshit. Next guy, bravo, getting that one past them, KT tape. Another guy's posted a meme, where is the evidence? Another one, for a guy with a PhD, exercise scientists are literally laughing at you. It's, can you believe that a national body's just taken money for a tweet like that? Like, where's your integrity? Some horrible stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't look great for USA track and field, especially it's a pretty big business over there. They have a lot of money and they have a fair bit of pull and that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a joke.
That must be some serious money that company's paid to like get that tweet promoted there.
Because don't Nike pay them a heap of money?
Yeah, like, massive amounts.
Yeah.
If you go on to, that's been like quoted, that tweet 85 times, and I can't imagine much positive stuff. Maybe
it was the work experience boy that put it up by accident. His mate works for KT Tape, and he's like, "Hey, you're on work experience at USATF. Just can you put this up for us?"
They're getting hammered. They're getting hammered in the replies here. I love it.
All right, another long show, Moose. That's 2 hours worth. What's coming up? We've got Gold Coast live show in less than 2 weeks. Tickets still available, so jump on to our Instagram bio there for a link. Road to Gold Coast, they will have finished recording by now, so that'll be up on Patreon. What do you got coming up, Andy, in the next couple of weeks?
Not much, actually. Just actually a bit of normal training for once. So it's been a while. One thing I forgot to mention in my week, which I couldn't believe. And Friday night, I was at home. It was about 8 o'clock, watching the footy, and I hear this knock on the front door, and I'm like, "Who's this?" I wasn't expecting anyone, so I didn't answer it. They keep knocking, and then they say my name, and I'm like, "What? Who is this?" Open the door, and can you believe it's Sports Integrity to test me. And they've driven all the way from Melbourne just to come to Bendigo to test me.
You mean they're drug testers?
Yeah, drug testers.
Overtime rate. They're like, "Oh yeah, let's go for a drive, charge them double time."
So what? You just weren't going to answer your door when someone's knocking on it?
Well, I feel like who just randomly comes around to your house? I thought it was just like a door knocker or a. Yeah.
You don't even go and look to see who it is.
No, I wasn't going to.
What if it's your dad?
They'd call me.
Oh, that's weird, I reckon.
You reckon? It's just like I don't answer my phone unless I feel like talking to the person.
Oh, it's different when they're at your house, though. What if it's someone who's in trouble?
Oh, they'll just knock and they'd yell out or something. But
is that first time you've been tested at home?
First time at home, yeah. Because I was taken off the whereabouts list, so I wasn't expecting anyone. And then like, "Oh no, you're still on the national testing pool for just out of competition."
Feel like a big dog when that happens.
Yeah, it was a pretty big flex when I was telling everyone. So
yeah, Mrs. would be real impressed by that, I reckon. Finally realizes you're any good at something.
Yeah, well, I suppose you guys wouldn't be able to understand what that's like getting tested. Never happened.
No, the closest I got was having to chaperone underage athletes when I was team manager for Swimming Australia at the Youth Olympic Festival in Sydney.
Wouldn't go bragging about that one, mate.
Anyway, what do you got coming up, Moose?
Oh, what's this week? I'm not doing anything important. I actually want to get some good training in this week before Gold Coast, before we head up there.
Yeah. All right. You guys don't know any major races coming up in the next week? I couldn't really think of anything.
Oh.
Like any major fun runs or, I couldn't think of too much between now and Gold Coast.
I think it's everyone's just focused on Gold Coast. That's what it seems like here, because everyone's keen to get out of this cold weather.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got that live show, mate. That'll be good. Tickets going quick.
You coming along, Andy?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yep.
Connect celebrate afterwards, mate.
Yeah.
Connect celebrate with some beers.
Croker's shout.
Yeah, on the rooftop.
Good luck with that.
No, it's free, isn't it?
Yeah, on the rooftop. That's what. Yeah, I'll shout.
I'll come along.
Thanks, Andy, for giving up a couple of hours on your Monday night, and looking forward to catching up on the Gold Coast.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
And I'll chat to you next week, Moose, with another guest host.
Oh, yeah? Who we got?
Don't know. I was thinking of hitting up the Milkman again.
Oh, yeah. Call him out on some stuff he left out last time, I reckon.
Yeah, and I reckon, race week, it'd be good to hear how his last few weeks have gone and how his Perth trip went.
Yeah. He went to Perth, jogged around ovals all the time.
Yeah, well, we can ask him next week if he comes back.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
The Sydney Marathon, presented by ASICS, is Australia's marathon. Join us at the start line this year for an event you'll never forget. Register now at sydneymarathon.com.